Let's have a talk, let's have a chat, talking about a little this and that. Hello and welcome to another episode of This and That. I am your host, Mary Easterling, and today we are continuing on from our last episode where we were talking about constitutionally speaking, maybe. At this point, we're moving into the Project 2025 portion of this that I said we would do in our last episode. But before I begin to listen to the last episode from This and That, go to talkingaboutthисandthat.wordpress.com and click on the podcast link. This will also be featured on mfeast.substack.com. Call it an addendum to the Tapestry series, maybe. However, Project 2025. I look up on Google, and AI serves up first this little thumbnail sketch. Project 2025 is a 900-page conservative policy blueprint and transition plan created by the Heritage Foundation to reshape the U.S. federal government. Let me say that again. A 900-page policy blueprint and transition plan to reshape the U.S. federal government. Now, constitutionally, the founders had assumed we would, from time to time, be making adjustments to the Constitution. You know, time passes. It's not exactly slavery in the South anymore, and it's not exactly blacks don't have rights anymore. That's just two things. One thing kind of got the axe, and the other kind of got the nod. Black rights do matter, and so did a president. Lyndon Baines Johnson, LBJ, I believe, is the man that capitulated to Martin Luther King and gave King what he asked for. A black person to have the right to vote, to have the right to exist, to have the right to have freedom, to have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So that is a transitional change to the U.S. federal government, sort of, because we're changing how we interpret our rights, who has them, who doesn't. But this is a reshape of the government. So let's continue. Its main goals include expanding executive power, replacing nonpartisan civil servants with political loyalists, and dismantling key federal agencies. Wait a minute. What? Expanding executive power. Okay, wait a minute. Full stop. Government. The cliff notes. The below cliff notes, the thumbnail, this is not AI, this is the I Remember My History version. You got three branches. It's a three-branch tree, rooted in the American people, as in, yup, we voted for you! We love you, Donald! No, we don't, we hate your guts. Donald, how do we get rid of you now? I could just hear the American tears, brought to you by the United States of America that is not loving the economy. So you have POTUS. POTUS stands for President, P-O, of, T, the, U, United, S, States. President of the United States, POTUS. And POTUS executes. He executes you, he executes your food stamps, he executes your Medicaid, he executes your grandma, he executes your grandpa, he executes a curtailment of prescription drugs. Oh, wait, but we have Trump care now. Come now, pay more now. It's the American way to do things. But see, no, that's actually going to work out for those third-party people like United Healthcare. Come to us and let us help you reduce your drug care coverage. In conjunction with what? Once Part D regulations are removed. So now you only have Parts A, B, and C. What? Yeah, Part D was your drug coverage. After all, we are the Donald. We love Big Pharma. Big Pharma loves us. And cha-ching! There comes more money. As Donald would like to ape this man, money cometh to me now! Don't he wish he could say it that way? Well, okay, so that's your executive. The executive order. This is the I want to see this happen. I want to see that happen. I'm putting this into law. No, you're not. You're putting this into this is my wish list, because not all executive orders can become laws. In fact, I don't know. Go Google that, because I'm not sure an executive order actually can become a law because a president signed his name to a bunch of writing and said, this is an executive order. We're going to take marijuana off the schedule. What is it? Schedule Title 3, Title 2? We're going to make it researchable. You know, we haven't heard anything since that day. 5 will get you 10. It is still out of reach, ain't it? Yeah, because somebody's probably got to put it through the House and Senate to make it a law. But I don't know yet. It might be off the title. It might be in the realm of research. It should be in the realm of research. Personal opinion, medical marijuana may have, if you can just figure out how it does what it does, might actually be help for Alzheimer's. One of our more rapidly growing problems is Alzheimer's. I deal with it. My mother has it. Hello. Okay. Then you have your legislation, the congressional. That's the check to the president. You can sign them things all day long, but we got to approve that stuff, POTUS. We got to approve your executive orders. We got to make them bills and turn them bills into laws. And it's not just the House, it's also the Senate. And I think it's a mistake because they're starting to say, let's get rid of the Senate. No, because then you don't have a check on the House. You get a House that's giddy up and go without any forethought, without any foresight, and it's just doing for the people, and the states are getting screwed over. You're going to end up with a civil war. States are just going to start dropping out of the union because they're going to be like, no, we can't live with this stuff. We don't care about the laws. They're not working for us. So you have to have states represented in the Senate and people represented in the House, sort of like Parliament, the Lords in the Senate and the plebeians, the Commonwealth, in the House. The people and the states, a conjoined voice, unless, of course, bribery has gotten it to the point where the people in the states no longer can figure out what the heck they want. Then, of course, you're just going to be, Senate is always checking House. House is speaking for the people and the states, and Senate is speaking for the rich and the corporation. See, you want that Senate gone, but you don't want the Senate gone. See? Okay. And then the third part is judiciary. You know, like the ones that said Roe v. Wade bad. Now in certain states, if a woman is bleeding to death, she's going to bleed to death because you can't stop it. And the doctors are crying and quietly and drinking themselves stupid because they just can't. They just can't. And OBGYN practices are leaving these states in the drove because they can't do anything for the patients. You're on your own, honey. You got pregnant. Sorry, you're knocked up. Hope you survive. Bye-bye. Because, I mean, when it goes wrong and you've got to lose that baby to live, well, no, but see, life that begins in the womb, it's so precious. We're going to let them all come to term. Man doesn't have the right to determine who gets born and who doesn't. Man only has the right to allow the parties involved to make conjoined decisions, joint decision regarding that carriage of that child to term. Why? Many's the slip between the cup and the lip, and it's a saying, and my mother used to make it. And when you're dealing with toddlers, I mean sippy cup much. Many's the slip between the cup and the lip. And then you've got the flood of juice all over the carpet. Europe, sippy cups, best thing ever. The judicial, which is your Supreme Court, is supposed to say, well, let's check your legislation and your executive orders against the paperwork called the Constitution, the Charter, the law of the land. POTUS, you can't do tariffs like that. Sorry. No, you can't have a ballroom, POTUS. Oh, ruddy foop. You went and tore down the East Wing? Now what are we going to do with you? Or birthright citizenship. Almost all the justices went, the paperwork says if you're born here, you're a citizen. Congratulations. Your mother made it to shore and spat you out on the beach. You're an American citizen. She might get deported, but maybe we'll have enough compassion on you to give you enough time to have breast milk. Maybe. Oh, wait, we've got formula for that. Nah, kick her back out into the sea. You get to stay, you whining ball of screaming pee and poop. Yeah, what are we going to do with you now? Maybe we just pitch you. Oh, we can't pitch you in the water. You're an American citizen. Damn. But one of them had this thing like, well, I see this as sort of a legislative thing. If you can ever get a legislation thing going through like a law, maybe then I won't rule for birthright citizenship. You know, it's kind of there's a Zen interpretation of the paperwork. Don't get me started. Apparently there are many ways to look at that paperwork, and only one of them is the rule book says this. These are the rules. You're going to have to do a rule book change in order to get your way. Good luck with that. You have to have X amount of states, the House, and the Senate. Yarp! That'll take you more than one presidency to do. How eager are you to go through that screaming pain? And you won't get it in your tenure. Oh, wait, if you come back, maybe towards the end of the second half, maybe hope the House and Senate are for you. Oh, wait, Project 2025. Loyalists. Oh, they'll be for me. Yeah. I'll have mine. Do you have yours? No, I'll take yours. All your money. Your 401k, too. Thank you. Enrich and stuff. Yes, so it's the president's executive, the Congress's legislative in House and Senate, and then the Supreme Court judiciary, and they're meant to check power. So if we expand the executive, the president can just start signing executive orders and saying, this is the law of the land now. And if he gets yes men in the House and Senate, as in he buys off, sells off, bribes off an entire political party by replacement of a ideological shift in that party, guess what? You have MAGA and the Republican National Convention, the Republican Party. You even have it leaking into the Democrat and the Independent. Yeah, isn't that interesting? MAGA's like a flock of birds, birds of a feather. They stick together. That's another saying. Well, all righty then. The expansion of the president's power to displace Congress and to get the Supreme Court to say, well, yes, sir, I think we can stretch our reading and understanding of that paperwork to accommodate you, sir. Have a nice day. Aren't you so pretty? You're so pretty. You're so witty. You're so pretty and witty and gay? Are you gay, Donald? Is the closet door opening because of your dementia? Okay, so replacing the nonpartisan. Now, nonpartisan means I'm not for the Republicans, I'm not for the Democrats, I'm not for the Libertarians, I'm not for the Tea Party, I'm not for a party. I have a job. I may vote as part of a party, but that's not what's coloring my work. My work is I do a job. I'm not part of Congress. I'm not part of the office of president. I'm not part of the Supreme Court, like Environmental Protection Agency. Oh, Food and Drug Administration. Oh, Center for Disease Control. Oh, those are those independent, nonpartisan civil servants agencies, and they're going to be replaced with loyalists. I mean, let's just start with the Surgeon General. Hello, Robert. RFK Jr., RFK Sr. is rolling in his grave at what you're doing. Congratulations! You really are an interesting person. Strange, but interesting. And yes, you're to be commended, sir. You've given us measles and rubella and pertussis and whooping cough, and our old friend is back! Polio. We now have polio back in America. And it only took 2 years. How long has MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, been in control? 2 years. Not even. 25, 26, folks. Because he got inducted into office, and all this stuff started at the end of 2024, and it came into its place in 2025. So 25, 26, we're not even through 2026, and we've got these diseases back. They were eradicated. You know why? We'd had a vaccine schedule. I need to say something here. Vaccinations do not prevent disease. Vaccination given on schedule. These vaccinations are given to developing bodies whose immune systems can be trained. The older you get and your immune system becomes compromised, the harder it is to train the damn thing. You have to have more and more and more vaccines because, like your memory, your immune system is starting to get forgetful. But a little child's immune system is learning. It's like a sponge. It's like the kid. They just learn, and they repeat the damnedest things, like damnedest. No, don't say that. Damnedest. No, please stop saying that. Damnedest. Okay, that'll be the fixation word for the day. Damnedest. I had to say this on air. Now I've got the little rugrat running around going, damnedest. Okay, but the vaccine, it's kind of like you send in the military, an enemy military. The thing is, they have all of their weapons, and they're going to fight you. But before they engage you, they're going to hand you a book, and they're going to say, quickly read this and start doing what it says. Ready, aim, fire at will. And so the immune system starts going through the book and going, okay, we need positions over here. We need these weapons over there. We need da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And after a little bit, it fights off and it wins. And it goes, that was interesting. We're keeping this book. I'm not sure if those bastards aren't going to come back someday. Sure enough, you get exposed to the real disease later on. And it comes in and it's all butch. And it goes, we're here. We ain't clear. And we're going to conquer your rear. And your immune system goes, sure. Book number da-da-da-da-da. Formation, please. And engage the enemy. And your immune system fights the disease that you're exposed to so rapidly that your immune system overwhelms the disease and it's rendered dead because your immune system was taught how to fight it. That's called immunization. You become immune because your immune system knows how to overwhelm. It recognizes, it's like, wait, you're not wearing the right colors. Oh, wait, I remember those colors. Boss, book number such and such, they're back! And all of a sudden the entire body's immune system goes, a tin hut! And wipes out the enemy before it can get a foothold, like polio, like diphtheria, like pertussis, like whooping cough, like measles, like mumps, like rubella, all of that. That's why the child gets the vaccination, and they get them at intervals. The immune system is not going to learn it the first time. They're going to get another dose later on, a few years down the line. Oh, they are back! Well, we don't know if it's the real deal or it's just another vaccination. We don't care! Mops the floor. And at this point, the body's like, okay, this goes in the hard copy. This is a default setting. You see that? You say that? We respond. That thing, that's never coming back. So every time that body, for the rest of its life, comes in contact with the unvaccinated disease, it's going to be at attention, ready to repel the borders from the boat called your human body. Yes, repelling the enemy at the gates of you. It's why the COVID vaccine business started working. The first MNR, whatever thing that you got 2 shots of, yeah, no, you probably didn't not get COVID. But here's the thing, and this is a recent, and the man that got this thing going and pushed it out the door, and while, yes, it did have issues because it's not your classic vaccine, it's a different type of vaccine. And so people with certain underlying conditions should not take that vaccine. That's something we're learning. And it's like, okay, all right, we scrambled the eggs, and it wasn't healthy for some people. They were allergic. I took it. My mother took it. My daughter had the disease and then took the vaccine. We got on a plane, sardine tin can. We went to Texas. We came back. My daughter didn't have it. See, she had gotten herself hardwired immunized? By actually having the disease and living through it. We had the vaccination. We were not so vaccinated that we couldn't not get it, but the damage done was very, very minimized. The battle was short. I had COVID, and within just a couple of days, I was out mowing my lawn. I mean, come on. I wasn't dying of respiratory failure. Right. Or maybe that strain was, and that's another thing. Measles, mumps, pertussis, rubella, polio, these are fixed strains. If they ever change, the vaccines will not be as effective. AIDS, the HIV, and COVID. The N1, the SARS flu strains is another one. These are things that evolve over time. They mutate over time. They don't present the same way, so the body's immune system doesn't realize what it's gotten into. That strategy will not fight it as effectively. So they send in a new vaccination. Vaccination can also kind of arm the body with weapons of mass destruction for the actual disease. That's why we have all this vaccination skepticism, because there's vaccinations and vaccinations. Childhood vaccines do work, and they do not give you problems. Adult vaccines for things that will mutate are a little less effective. And the older you get, the less responsive your system is to vaccination anyway. There you go. So, all right, the replacing of the nonpartisan civil servants with political loyalists, and then dismantling key federal agencies. Do we remember this? Chainsaw for bureaucracy! Or Doge. It came through and it cut the tree called government, and it lopped off so many branches, fired so many people, said, y'all too woke, I'm getting rid of you. Well, now we have the high price of beef. How's that working for you? You know why? Because the cows are dying. Do you know why? Apparently there's some sort of a worm that we had this bizarre department in agriculture that was tracking a stupid fly from South America, prepping ahead of time to figure out what kind of the exact kind of worm, so we would have the exact kind of treatment. So as soon as we saw it, we responded, and it just didn't do anything. We killed it, and we got rid of it. Apparently we have the ability to release a different kind of fly, which kills off this fly. Yeah. Wow. But that agency has been defunded, destroyed. So now we have it. The worm is back. The price of beef is going up. So now let's look at Wikipedia. This is going to be straight out of Wikipedia, word for word, basically, since I quote the source. I'm not plagiarizing. Listen, they are doing a better write-up job than I am. So, Project 2025, also known as the 2025 Presidential Transition Project, the PTP, is a political initiative published in April 2023 by the Heritage Foundation with the goal of reshaping the U.S. federal government by consolidating executive power in favor of right-wing policies. Oh, what? Christian, conservative, right-wing policy. We gonna force our Jesus down your throat now, y'all. We gonna do it politically. Okay. It constitutes a policy document that suggests specific changes to the federal government, a personnel database for recommending vetting loyal staff in the federal government, and a set of proposed executive orders for the U.S. president to implement those policies. Holy snot, y'all. Holy mackerel, Andy. That's a whopper. A slew of pre-printed or sketched executive orders for any POTUS that wants to go along with this plan to just start putting their name on. Hell, they can auto-pin it if they want. Wow. But these are right-wing policies. These are ultra-conservative policies, and they're going somewhere, those policies. They have roots that go back to something. Now, the document, quote-unquote, suggests, but since the 2024 elections, we have seen those so-called, quote-unquote, suggestions taken to heart, have we not? I mean, chainsaw for bureaucracy! That was something. That was some sort of a suggestion, and then Elon Musk became the Doge of America. Do you know the Doge? Doge, the title, comes out of Venice. The Doges of Venice were purse string controllers. They were the financiers or rather the controllers of finance and the controllers of government. They were the power behind the Venetian government for a long, long time. And do you know what they did? They funneled the money upward into the aristocracy oligarchy, the 1%ers like Amazon, Bezos, and then the car that looks like Star Trek, Musk. Yep, it's boxy, but it'll get you there. Maybe, if it doesn't blow up. The project's policy document mandate for leadership calls for the replacement of federal civil service workers by people loyal to, quote-unquote, the next conservative president, and for taking partisan control of the Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Department of Commerce, and the Federal Trade Commission. What? That's right. The DOJ, the FBI, the DOC, and the FTC. What do? The DOJ. Epstein, anybody? Want to see those files released? Unredacted? Redacting only the victims and not the perpetrators? Want to see those names? Take a number, get in line. POTUS owns the DOJ right now. They said, Sie Karl, Sie POTUS. Oh, I'm sorry, we're not German. Are we German? Sprachen Sie Deutsch? Should we be sprachen Sie Deutsch? What do the Deutsch think about this? Yeah, ask Germany what they think about what's going on here in America. They are in stunned disbelief. They're like, didn't we have Adolf? Didn't you all learn anything from that? I guess not. Boy, I tell you what, do you know world history at all, America? Why, no, Germany. We don't know much of nothing. We're dumb as stumps over here. Okay, I'm sorry I'm insulting the listeners. I'm insulting myself. But do you remember this program, Americans in the 1962 birth year? So you went through school in the 60s and the 70s, and there was something called No Child Left Behind. The dumbing down of reading, writing, arithmetic, history, and everything else to the slowest learner so they could graduate forward with the class, because being put back, why, that's going to hurt Jimmy and Janie's little precious psyche, says Dr. Spock. And I do not mean Star Trek and Leonard Nimoy. I mean the actual Dr. Spock. Good God. Well, now let's see what other damage we can do. The FBI. I noticed the CIA is not involved. Central Intelligence Agency? No, but they are compromised. The Federal Bureau of Investigation works with the DOJ. The FBI is the investigative unit, apparently, for the DOJ. Because why would you disable them and bring them under a partisan control if they weren't connected? And then Department of Commerce with Federal Trade Commission. This is another connection. Commerce, as in Amazon, anybody? You click buy. You are commercing with Amazon. You're having Amazon go out there to the world and say, hey, world, I need a widget. Duty wants a widget. And the widget comes in and they get the port tax, and they get the price for the shipping and handling. And then they get the tariff and they go, and the price goes up. Do you really want that widget now? Do we boycott Amazon? Can you afford to boycott Amazon? Have you been to your local Walmart, other stores, noticing the shelves are a little thin in certain areas? Go look on Amazon. All of a sudden, it's picking up that commerce. You think it's coincidental? Oh, heck no. It's planned. That's how business is done, honey bun. And so then the Federal Trade Commission, Commerce and Trade, or should I say Trade and Commerce, the good old T&C. Trade and commerce. Trade is when I go out there and I sell you mine and you sell me yours. That's trade. Commerce is getting it in here and funneling out to the masses. Everybody want a widget now? Other agencies, including Department of Homeland Security. The Department of Education would be dismantled. Okay, all right. DHS, we didn't have it before 9/11. DHS is looking at you, America. That's what they do. Flock cameras in general that take the license plate, that take the screenshot, hacking your Ring doorbell, etc. You want privacy? They go, no, you're not safe in your privacy. We want to see you diddle yourself on the toilet. Yes, I did actually put that in the broadcast because there are people out there that's exactly what they want to see you do. Okay, so they'll sit there and diddle themselves while you're wiping yourself. They're really twisted, strange. Yes, and I'm just going to leave this in the program. No, because there's people like that. And now they've got your footage. Maybe. They say that Epstein had cameras all over his places and that he was taping to blackmail. Some have suggested that maybe some of what POTUS is doing is because the Epstein files have dirt on him to the point where it's like, oh, poopy, we really don't want this getting out. It'll ruin the Trump brand. It'll ruin the Trump all of the entire family, including those that don't want to be involved, will go into jail just because. So Department of Homeland Security, I could see that go and give the Coast Guard back to the military and get the National Guard back to the military where it belongs as part of the national defense complex. Expand it, sharpen it, make them better, give them the money they need to protect our borders, have a standing military to fend off the enemy at the gate. That's why it's supposed to be called the Department of Defense, not the Department of War. Hegseth! No, it's not. It's the DOH, the Department of Hegseth. Let's be realistic. That's what it is until we can get rid of that poor man. I don't know. He likes the words Deus Vult. I'm starting to think Deus just might vote this one. Of course, that's just me. I'm nobody. I'm just talking. But the Department of Education? Why would you want to dismantle that? Why would you dismantle the DOE? How many programs are in the DOE? We dismantle you until you teach what we want you to teach. A Bible study all day long, because we're Christians now, and we're going to have our version of American history. There was never any slavery. We have always been a godly nation. Jim Crow doesn't exist. You listen to some of the stuff that is said in your face, like COVID is a hoax. You say that to the nurses and doctors who went through it. What do you want to do? Make these people think they have Alzheimer's? Really? Oh my! I don't want to be treated in emergency rooms after they've been gaslit like that. They could kill me. Second guessing everything they do because they're not sure. Is this real or is this Memorex or is this AI? Another thing about the Department of Education is if we dismantle it and remake it as the Department of Propaganda, why, we have a state autocracy, a state technocracy, a state, totalitarianistic? Well, it's not going to be plutocracy, and it sure as heck isn't going to be democracy. Well, actually, it will be dumbocracy, because the dumb will be in power over us, and we'll be the dumb letting the dumb be in power over us. Just give it about 10 years, about the time a child is going to go through K through 12. 10 years. By the time they get 12 years out, they'll be so compliant, so indoctrinated, we could call it the DOI, the Department of Indoctrination. Propaganda by any other name is also known as the speech of communism. And they say the Democrats that are kind of on the socialistic side are the commies. No, folks. Indoctrination education is one of the hallmarks of communism. Hello? Totalitarianistic regimes, authoritarianistic regimes. That's part of communism. And having your government invest in stock and trade, that's getting government ownership of business. Wait, what? That actually is communism. Ain't this the rabbit hole? I mean, seriously. This also calls for reducing environmental regulations and realigning the National Institutes of Health with conservative priorities, like the vaccination schedule disruption. I'm not going back on that rabbit hole. I just went there. The blueprint seeks to reduce taxes on corporations, institute a flat income tax on individuals, cut Medicare and Medicaid, and reverse as many of President Joe Biden's policies as possible. What? Joe Biden's policies? Do you realize in that one line, reverse as many of President Joe Biden's policies as possible, that what Project 2025 is simply getting back at Biden? I wonder why he's such a badass, such a bastard, that we need to obliterate him. I mean, I'm told now that his prostate cancer is spread to his bones, so he's not long for this world, maybe. So cancer's kind of obliterating him, but that's a disease. Too bad we defunded the research for that. Okay, but, his policies? Kind of makes me wonder, what policies did Joe Biden do that were so great that this guy wants to obliterate them? Think woke, people, woke. It proposes banning pornography. Well, that's not bad. That's holiness. That's purity. I get on board with that. Oh, wait, pornography. We might be banning sex. Hey, wait a minute. If we ban pornography and then we ban sex in marriage, the Sex Act, how about all those white babies that RFK Jr. wants to see? How are you going to get those men to put into the sperm bank now? You just banned pornography, which is how they produce the sperm bank donations for you, buddy. That's a very Christian thing, by the way. Tells you where the roots are coming from. Removing legal protections against anti-LGBT discrimination and ending diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI programs while having the DOJ prosecute anti-white racism. Anti-white racism. Black Lives Matter is now called White Lives Matter. So they're going to have to repaint that street. Instead of with black letters, it's going to be white letters. Do you know how many people are going to get very angry at this? You see, folks, we ain't falling far from the South. We just gonna fly our Confederate flags and tell all you not gonna use that word on air unless I'm talking about AI. It's your new starts with an N because it's a slave. Yerp. But we want to eradicate y'all. Deportation. Send y'all back to Africa. Places where they're at war in Africa so they can kill you. Yeah, that's how this goes. Because we're white. We're bright. We're shiny. We're conservative. We're Christian from the South. Do I smell a Confederate uprising? Yes. Why, yes, I do. This broadcast, by the way, comes out of Florida. It may be Broward County. It may not be the Key West. But how much more south do I have to go before I go off the land map of the United States? Florida is about as south as you can get. Hello. And you thought that Mississippi was it? You thought that NOLA was it? Nah, honey. Florida. The project recommends mass deportation of illegal immigrants. The plan also proposes enacting laws supported by the Christian right, such as criminalizing the sending and receiving of abortion and birth control medications and eliminating coverage of emergency contraception. Yes, let's just kill her now. And in places where this has been done, maternal and infant mortalities have taken a sharp spike upward. Remember the Deus Vult? Deus, God. Vult, wills, or wills it. So Deus Vult, folks. Deus Vult. While you are dying, dear, just remember, God wills it. Oh, you're not saved? You're going to hell! Oh, well, that sucks for you. Well. Boop. Flatlined. Dang it. Well, she was black anyway. They can't be saved. Haven't you heard? That message brought to you by the KKK. The Knights. They're just knights. I want you to look at this line again, because on the first face, it's highly political and it's republic rule with loyalists like Whigs that will not say no to the conservative president. But then you have laws supported by the quote-unquote Christian right. And right there you have some sort of separation between church and state that is violated, but not by the government, but by the church itself. The whole pro-life movement is a cloak or a much more serious example of a hardened heart being seen. The obvious is when we see Joe Biden mentioned. For all that Catholic old soul was doing, it was a pushback against one entity and one only. And it's not the church, but the corporation. Partisan control or leadership is placed into DOJ, FBI, DOC, FTC, with the elimination of DHS and DOE, and the reshuffling of buffaloes in the NIH. Wow. And of course it says here, but why the DOA? Why the DOE? Because they want to change history narrative and teach their doctrine to the next generation K through 12. I've already said this. But now wait, what do we mean? By taking down Homeland Security, we can use the pieces of it for whatever means we so desire. We being the writers of this insanity, Doge did all this first wave for us, resetting DOJ, FBI, but I do not see the CIA or the NSA mentioned, and they may be the only means left for the rest of us victims to retake our nation. What do you think? FTC had to be paralyzed so we could enact tariffs, not to mention grifts, up and up, stuff into the pocket, stuff into the bank account, somewhere in over there. But when you shut down the DOE, you are resetting narratives in education. You are preparing to rewrite things and indoctrinate the generation to come into your ideology. So let's pause the one Wikipedia and look at another called the Seven Mountains Mandate, which we will do in our next episode. So until then,